You only found out because of a beach photo. Not even a message, not even a courtesy text. Just a blurry Instagram story from your cousin Bailey showing ocean waves, tan legs, and the words fam trip. You watched it 3 times in disbelief. The tagged location, Grand Palms Resort and Villas, a high-end hotel in a city you knew too well. You stared at the screen, then scrolled back through your messages. Nothing. Group chats silent. You tapped into the one labeled fam, the one that your mother still insisted on using to circulate birthday reminders and church Zoom links. There it was, chat history full of planning logistics and matching t-shirt ideas. All from weeks ago. Except you'd been removed. You hadn't noticed. You weren't exactly checking in regularly. Work had been a monster lately. That new deal, that relentless schedule. Still, they'd made the group smaller, quieter. You weren't even worth the awkward silence of pretending it was an accident. You did something ridiculous, then you texted your mother. Hey, just saw the trip. Hope it's amazing. Didn't know we were doing something. She replied 5 hours later with a single line. Oh, sweetheart, there just wasn't room this time. We'll do something just us later. That was it, not even a smiley face. You stared at the message, no room this time. That phrase felt like a paper cut across your chest. Thin, sharp, and stupidly painful. Not because you cared about sunbathing or beach games, but because they'd planned an entire trip and you were just cut. Quietly, like you'd never belonged to begin with. You didn't write back. What would you say? You could hear your sister laughing it off. Don't be dramatic. Your uncle, the one who always gave you side-eye at family dinners, would have a field day if you showed up. So you didn't tell anyone. You just opened your laptop, booked a flight, and stared at the hotel name again. Grand Palms Resort and Villas. Something about it tugged at your brain. It sounded familiar, but that didn't make sense. You hadn't traveled that region in years. Maybe you'd seen it in an investor's deck or a deal packet. You'd had your hands in a lot of holdings lately. Your face wasn't always on the paperwork, but your name was. Or rather, your company's was. The day before you flew out, you packed lightly. No beachwear, no forced smiles. Just clean lines, sharp shoes, and the kind of calm you'd learn to wear like armor. You weren't going to crash their party. You were going to witness it. On the plane, you reviewed the property profile again, looking for whatever was itching at your memory. It wasn't until the landing gear touched down that you remembered. Grand Palms had been one of those distressed acquisitions from a year ago, a luxury property with struggling ownership and great bones. Your team had picked it up, restructured everything, and tucked it under a shell company. You hadn't visited in person. It had just been a line in a quarterly report. Now it wasn't just a hotel, it was your hotel. You checked in like a ghost, quietly, efficiently. The concierge didn't recognize your face, which was perfect. You didn't want a red carpet, not yet. When they handed you the penthouse keycard, you smiled faintly. And when you stepped into the suite, plush carpet, ocean view, a bowl of tropical fruit already sweating on the counter, you realized something. They'd told you there was no room, but you had the top room. And as of this moment, your family was unknowingly vacationing inside your property, sleeping on your sheets, posting selfies from your pool. You didn't feel smug, not quite. You just felt awake. Something was shifting, something patient and silent and long overdue. You spend your first evening walking the perimeter of the property, not like a guest, but like someone remembering a blueprint. You note how the palm trees frame the southern edge of the pool deck, how the concierge station has been moved since the last report, and how the spa now offers a ridiculous lava stone renewal ritual that somehow costs more than a round-trip flight. You wonder if your aunt paid for that. You don't try to find them, not yet. You're not here to play some loud, vengeful part. You're here to observe just as they observed your life from a distance through assumptions and thin smiles. Back in the penthouse, you open your messages again. Still nothing from your mother. No follow-up, no guilt text, just silence. You almost want to laugh. For years you'd been the fixer, the one who stepped up when your sister's boyfriend cheated again, or when your cousin dropped out of college and needed a short-term loan. You were the one they called for rent, help resume edits, and last-minute rides to the airport. But this time, you didn't even make the spreadsheet. You sleep surprisingly well. In the morning, you head down to the cafe, deliberately skipping room service. You want to see the public side of the hotel. It's 7:45 a.m., and already buzzing families in matching shirts, kids with sticky hands and sugary smoothies. Someone arguing gently about toast being too artisan. And then, without trying, you see them. Your mother and sister are seated at a table near the corner, sipping coffee and scrolling through their phones. Your uncle is there too, wearing a golf visor and lecturing someone on phone etiquette. And there, just behind them, is your dad, face red from sunburn, but still nursing a mimosa like he's royalty. They're laughing, not cruelly, just easily. And that makes it worse. You could turn around, leave the resort, get back on a plane, but you don't. You walk past them without making eye contact and slide into a booth just out of their line of sight. You sip your espresso slowly, almost reverently. It doesn't take long for things to unravel. First, your youngest cousin Maya spots you. She does that double take that kids do when they see something wildly out of context. Then her eyes widen. Then she gasps. She doesn't say your name, she just points. Your mother turns her head. So does your sister. And for a moment, just one, they freeze. You meet their gaze calmly, lift your cup in a mock toast. No one moves. Then your aunt leans in and whispers something. Your sister shakes her head. Your mother's mouth tightens. And still no one comes over. You finish your coffee and leave the table. No drama, no scene. Just a quiet exit, the kind that makes people more uncomfortable than shouting ever could. Back in the suite, your phone finally buzzes. A message. From your mother. Didn't know you were in town? Are you staying nearby? Nearby. You let that one sit for a minute before replying. Yes, something like that. 2 minutes later, another text. We're doing a family dinner tonight. Maybe you could stop by after. Stop by, as if you were an outsider, as if you were the one who didn't belong in the very space they were currently calling their own. You type, then delete, then type again. Let's see how the day goes. It's not a no, but it's not a yes either. You wonder how long it will take them to realize they're staying in your hotel. Maybe they never will. Maybe they'll go home thinking you just happened to be in town, just happened to sit in the same breakfast room like the universe had nothing better to do. But maybe, just maybe, they'll start to feel it, the shift, the soft rearranging of who really holds the keys. Because for once you're not knocking on their door, you're holding the deed. You spend the afternoon walking through your own property like a stranger with secrets. Every corner of the resort is clean and curated down to the napkin folds in the lobby cafe. You spot the family again by the pool, this time your cousin doing handstands in the water. Your father face down on a lounge chair, your sister taking group selfies with practiced angles. They still haven't connected the dots, and you're not rushing it. Instead, you retreat to the management wing and request a full guest list from the front desk. You own the place technically. This kind of thing should be run through your legal team, but that's the thing about anonymous shell companies and silent partners. They're only silent when you want them to be. The staff hands it over without question, a printed list stapled neatly. You run your finger down the names, your parents, your sister, even your uncle's second wife, the one who once accidentally booked her spa appointment during your graduation. They're all here, all under your roof. The family reunion that had no room for you is fully occupying the hotel you bought last fall. You remember the deal clearly now. It was a mess, poor financials, low occupancy, a dated design aesthetic. You saw potential not just in the building, but in the idea. You'd called it a legacy restoration in your notes. And now it's poetic. They're sleeping in the legacy they ignored. You pause at the gift shop next. There's a display of overpriced beach towels and locally made candles, all branded with the hotel logo, an elegant palm frond twisted into a circle. You pick one up and turn it in your hands. Your sister passes by the entrance and doesn't even glance your way. You almost wish she would. Almost. Later that evening, you get an update from the manager. They're preparing for a large dinner reservation in the private dining suite. The name on the booking, Lena M., your sister. You know exactly what this is. An engagement dinner. Of course. You think about crashing it. Walking in cool and calm, waiting for the moment someone asks the waiter to send the check, and the manager walks in with it, already paid, signed off by the owner. But no, not yet. You're playing a longer game. Instead, you sit in your suite watching the ocean fade to navy outside your balcony. The stars over the water are shy, blinking through the early night like they too are trying not to intrude. There's a knock at your door around 9:40 p.m. Room service, a bottle of wine and a handwritten card, with gratitude from the Grand Palms team. You didn't order it, but you know who did. You head down to the lobby bar around 10. There's a quiet hum to the space now. The kind that happens after a party has ended, but no one wants to go upstairs yet. You spot your father at the bar alone, swirling something brown in a glass. You sit 2 seats away. He glances at you, then does a second take. Didn't expect to see you here, he says, as if this is some wild coincidence. Same, you reply, voice light. He clears his throat, taps the rim of his glass. Your mother said you were in town for business. You don't nod. You don't shake your head either. You just say something like that. He watches you carefully now, like he's trying to calculate a puzzle that no longer comes with instructions. Well, he says after a pause, glad you're getting some time off. You look comfortable. You smile. I am. That's when he asks the first real question. The one that's been hiding behind everyone's eyes all day. Where are you staying? You sip your drink, then say calmly, here. He frowns. Oh, thought the place was fully booked. It usually is, you say, then after a beat. But they always make room for ownership. You watch it land, not a crash. Just a quiet, perfect thud in the center of his chest. He doesn't ask another question, and you don't offer another word. The next morning is silent. No texts, no knocks. Just the slow unraveling of morning sunlight across your suite's marble floor. You take your time. There's no reason to rush. They're the ones waking up in someone else's house. You're already home. At 9 a.m., you request a private meeting with the hotel staff, housekeeping leads, concierge heads, and the general manager, a composed woman named Sandra, whom you've only met through quarterly performance reports. She's better in person, sharp eyes, measured words, and the rare ability to understand exactly how much to say and how much to keep hidden. You meet in a small back office room, the kind built for clipboard check-ins and HR memos, not power plays. But today it feels like a war room. You begin with a simple request. I'd like to be treated as an anonymous VIP guest for the remainder of my stay. Maximum discretion. Highest tier service. No outward signs of ownership. Understood. Sandra doesn't blink. Understood. You continue. Also, I'd like to ensure that the guests under reservation block Morrison Group are treated with normal courtesy, no more, no less. No comped upgrades. No priority status. Fair and consistent service as with any other guest. A few glances pass between staff, but no one asks why. They don't need to. The staff disperses with quiet efficiency, and you return to your suite just in time to see your sister on the lawn below giving directions to a photographer. There's a light arch being built out of driftwood and linen. You'd bet good money there will be a soft announcement tonight. Maybe a surprise proposal or a staged engagement dinner framed as casual. You almost admire the effort. Back inside, you open your laptop and review a few upcoming mergers. It's grounding, strategic, normal. A reminder that your time is rarely wasted even when it looks like you're doing nothing at all. Mid-afternoon, your phone buzzes. From Mom, are you free to come by the ballroom later? Just casual dinner stuff. Lena's excited. You imagine the tone, warm but rehearsed. A peace offering wrapped in plausible deniability. You don't answer right away. Instead, you get a call from Sandra. There's been a request, she says carefully. Your family has asked for use of the Sunset Ballroom tonight. They're planning a formal dinner. Approved, you say. Charge them the full rental rate. A pause. Would you like us to include the standard event package? Absolutely, you say, and send them the invoice directly. No discounts. Sandra hesitates. Would you like to attend? You smile faintly. I'll watch, quietly. As sunset bleeds across the sky, you change into something simple but immaculate. Tailored black, clean lines, timeless. You look like someone who never needs to ask for the check. You descend to the mezzanine level and slip onto the balcony overlooking the ballroom. They've gone all out. Candles, string lights, long tables covered in silk runners and faux eucalyptus garlands. Your sister is glowing center of attention, surrounded by family who forgot how to make room for you. You sip a glass of water and lean on the balcony rail. Then, precisely at 7:14 p.m., a staff member enters the ballroom with a printed announcement. He walks calmly to the head table and hands it to your mother. She reads it, pauses, then rereads. Your sister leans over and squints at the paper. Then your father. Whispers ripple through the table like wind across a pond. You can see the growing confusion, the names on the invoice, the company listed at the bottom. Morrison Acquisitions, LLC. Your holding company. Your name is nowhere on the paper, but your silence is loud enough. You slip away before anyone looks up. Let them sit with it. Let them wonder who wrote the rules of the room they now feel smaller inside. You don't sleep much that night, not because you're anxious, but because something inside you is finally still. Like the noise you didn't know you'd been carrying your whole life has faded into something quiet. Manageable. By morning, the energy has changed. The hotel still hums with vacation laughter, but underneath it, you can sense the static, your family's tension clinging to the corridors like humidity. You walk down to breakfast deliberately late, just as the early crowd has cleared out and the new guests are trickling in. You don't need to be early anymore. You are not the one trying to prove you belong. As you pass through the lobby, you catch the eye of the concierge, who nods subtly, professional, discreet, loyal. You choose a table near the window, this time full view of the pool, full view of the dining room. Your presence is intentional now. 10 minutes in, you see them. Your sister enters first, sunglasses on, despite the indoor lighting. She scans the room the way people do when they're pretending not to scan the room. Behind her, your parents follow, your mother's smile, stretched a little too wide, your father's face, a little too unreadable. They spot you. Of course they do. Your sister hesitates, just a flicker of it, and then she walks over with the forced casualness of someone approaching a coworker at a wedding. "Hey," she says, sliding into the chair across from you without waiting to be invited. "Didn't know you were staying here." You take a sip of coffee, hold her gaze. "You didn't ask." She flinches, then laughs, but it's hollow. "Right, yeah. We were going to. I told Mom maybe you should come." You raise an eyebrow. "Did you?" She fidgets with her napkin. "I think this whole thing's just gotten a little weird. That invoice last night. Mom was freaking out, said it must be some mistake." You lean in, voice low and even. "It wasn't." Your sister blinks. "Wait, so, is it true?" You say nothing, and that silence, that's the confirmation. She looks like someone dropped ice down her back. Her mouth opens, then closes. "Wow," she says finally. "So you own this place?" You tilt your head. "Does it matter?" She laughs again, and this time it's real, uncomfortable, confused, defensive. Yeah, it does. It's kind of a big thing not to tell your family." You stare at her, let the pause breathe, then say, "So is planning an entire vacation and not telling your brother." Her face crumples slightly, not full remorse, just enough to know the guilt is real, even if it's late. "I didn't think it'd be a big deal," she says quietly. "You're always working. You never come to these things anyway." "Because I'm not invited." She sighs. "Look, I didn't mean to." "I know." You cut in gently, not angrily. "None of you ever mean to. That's the point." Across the room, your mother is staring, lips pressed tight. She doesn't approach. Neither does your father. But your sister just sits there, small for once. Human. "I'm sorry," she says, eyes down. "Really? I didn't know this was yours. If I had?" You nod slowly. "You would have pretended to include me." Silence stretches between you like a bridge that never got built. She clears her throat. "So, are we still welcome?" You set your cup down soft against the porcelain. "You are always welcome, just not invited." She nods as if she doesn't fully understand but knows she should. Then she leaves, quietly. You finish breakfast alone. Not lonely alone. There's a difference. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like a choice. The sun is already harsh when you step out to the pool deck, but the air feels cooler. Maybe it's the shift in gravity, the kind that happens when someone realizes they've been orbiting the wrong center. You don't go to your usual lounge chair. You stand near the bar, unnoticed, watching. Your cousin Maya is playing in the shallow end, squealing about invisible dolphins. She doesn't know anything has changed. She just knows the water is warm and the sky is wide. And maybe that's enough for her. The rest of them, they're quieter today. Your uncle, the loud one, is scrolling his phone with a tight jaw. Your mother keeps adjusting her sun hat like it's a steering wheel that could still turn things around. Your father keeps checking his watch, even though he's not waiting for anything. There's something deeply satisfying about the way they don't know what to say to you now. Not because you want them tongue-tied, but because it proves how little they understood you before. Before, you were the too quiet one, the always working one, the probably fine on his own one. Now you're the one who signs the checks beneath the logo they've been photographing all weekend. You walk slowly across the pool deck, feel their eyes move like heat behind you. A few staff members nod as you pass, short, precise nods. Subtle, as instructed. It's time for the second staff meeting. You step into the operations office again, this time with a different tone. You thank them for their work. You request that no one treat you differently, no shifts in behavior, no gossip, no rumors. "I don't need to be acknowledged," you say. "Just respected." Quietly. Sandra nods, understanding completely. But then you add one more thing. "I want you to schedule a surprise amenity drop for all Morrison rooms. Fruit baskets. Custom welcome notes. Same font, same logo. But make sure each one says, 'We're glad you're here,' even if it took a while. Sandra raises an eyebrow. Subtle. You smile, just enough. The team moves like clockwork. You return to your suite and spend an hour reading through expansion reports. Numbers don't twist themselves into drama. They just tell the truth. You find comfort in that. By late afternoon, the first ripple hits. Your mother calls, then texts. Did you send something to the room? Your note was a little strange. Are you trying to say something? You stare at the screen. For once, you don't feel the need to explain. Let her sit in it. Let her reflect, if she can. Instead, you go for a walk along the edge of the property, past the spa, past the restaurant patios, out to the private bluff with the stone bench. It's the best seat on the property. You'd made sure of it when you bought the place. The view from there is like forgiveness, soft, wide, and quiet. You sit. A few minutes later, the last person you expect appears. Your father. He doesn't speak at first. He just stands nearby, hands behind his back, like a man pretending this is coincidence. Finally, he says, "You always like the quiet spots." You don't answer. He clears his throat. I suppose you've made a habit of finding them, making them even. Still, you say nothing. Then he sits beside you, slowly, like the stone might reject him. I didn't know, he says. Not until Lena showed me the email, and even then I didn't believe it. You nod once. It's impressive, he adds. Really, you've done well. You wait for the next part, the but, the deflection. It doesn't come. He just looks out at the water, hands folded. I'm sorry, he says finally. We should have made room for you, all along. You don't say it's fine, because it's not. But you don't say I told you so either. Instead, you speak the only truth that matters. You never had to make room for me, you say. I was never asking. I just stopped waiting. He nods slowly, like maybe he's starting to get it. You don't attend the engagement dinner. You could. The invitation is sent formally, an actual printed card slipped under your door in a gold envelope. Your name spelled correctly. Handwritten note inside, hope you'll join us. Love, Lena. But something about it feels performative, like an apology written in frosting. So instead you send a bottle of vintage champagne to their table, quietly signed from management. Let them read between the bubbles. You eat dinner alone that night out on your private balcony. The sound of distant clinking glasses and soft string music drifts upward from the ballroom below, but you don't lean over to watch. You already know the story. The room is full of people who only recognize your worth when it's written in cursive on a check, who laughed at your distance until your silence bought the building around them. You'd rather toast yourself. By dessert, you've almost forgotten they're even here, until the knock. It's Maya, your youngest cousin, wearing 2 big sandals and a dress covered in tiny pineapples. She looks up at you with a nervous smile. Hi, she says. Mom said I could come say hi. I told her you were up here. You open the door wider. Come in. She tiptoes in like your suite is a museum. Looks around at the big windows, the fruit on the table, the plush robe draped over the chair. Your room is so fancy, she says, wide-eyed. You smile. It's all right. She looks at you suddenly serious. Are you mad at everyone? You pause. No one's asked it that directly. No adult anyway. Not mad, you say. Just tired. She nods like she understands. She doesn't. But she knows what it means to feel left out. Kids always know. She climbs up on the edge of your armchair and swings her legs. I told Mommy that I like you, even if you don't come to stuff. You're always nice. You feel that in your chest, a gentle thud. Thank you, Maya. She reaches into her little purse and pulls out something folded, one of those silly kid-made place cards with glitter glue and crooked handwriting. She hands it to you. Mine said I could make an extra. I put your name on it. You open it. Uncle Asat glitter barely holding. It's imperfect and sincere. You want to frame it. I love it, you say, and you mean it. Want to take a cookie for the road. She beams. Yes, please. You walk her back down to the ballroom entrance. You don't go inside, but you stand just outside the grand doors as she scampers back to her table. Your mother sees you, so does your sister. This time they don't look away. Your sister walks over, dress slightly wrinkled from too many congratulatory hugs. She holds a small dessert plate in one hand, a linen napkin in the other. Thank you, she says, voice soft. For the champagne. Everyone loved it. You nod. She shifts her weight. I've been thinking about what you said. About always being welcome but never invited. You say nothing, let her keep going. I didn't realize that's what we were doing. But you're right. It was exactly that. You tilt your head, and now, she shrugs. Now I realize you were never out of the picture. We were just looking in the wrong direction. There's a quiet between you, one not filled with regret but recognition. She hands you the dessert plate, still warm. You glance at it. Chocolate tart, one of your favorites. "I'll take it upstairs," you say. "Of course." She steps back inside, leaves you in the hallway alone again, but no longer outside the frame. You carry the plate carefully. It's not a peace offering. It's not redemption. But it's real. And sometimes that's a start. By the next morning, the hotel lobby is a quiet minefield of unfinished conversations. You can feel it in the way your father avoids eye contact with the front desk staff, in how your mother clutches her itinerary with both hands, as if it's the last map to a version of control that no longer exists. You linger by the cafe longer than necessary, sipping a second espresso just to watch the dance. People pretending everything's fine. People recalibrating hierarchy, politeness, entitlement. You've been patient, measured, but today something in you shifts. You decide it's time. Time to drop the final stone into the still pond and let the last ripple spread. You request a meeting in the executive lounge, and within the hour, Sandra appears clipboard in hand, the way a general arrives before a ceasefire. I assume this is about the more she starts, but you raise a hand gently. "Yes, it's time." She nods. You want to reveal ownership formally. "No, I want to make it unmistakable." You outline a single request. Have the hotel's general manager deliver a personalized thank you card to the Morrison Group's lead guest, your father. The note should be printed on branded letterhead. It should read, "We hope the Morrison family has enjoyed their time at Grand Palms. We especially thank our owner for trusting us with his family's comfort." Management. Sandra smiles. "Understood." Then with a small pause, "Would you like to be present when the note is delivered?" You think about it. Imagine the scene, the disbelief, the stammering, the slow click of realization. And then you shake your head. "No," you say. "I'll meet him afterward. Let him walk to me." She leaves with quiet precision. At exactly 12:45 p.m., your father receives the card at the front desk while confirming a late checkout. From your mezzanine view, you watch his expression curdle in slow motion, eyes narrowing, mouth, parting fingers, gripping the edge of the counter as the words start making sense. Your mother reads it over his shoulder. You see her hand rise instinctively to her necklace, the same one she clutched when she told you there wasn't room. Your sister leans in, reads the card, then turns her head slowly toward the upper floor, toward where you're standing. It's the moment the veil lifts. You leave your perch and return to the executive lounge, not long after your father enters, alone. He looks tired, like someone who's realized the house he's been living in belongs to a person he thought he'd outgrown. You sit across from each other in silence for a long beat. You know, he finally says, "When I used to take you to school, I'd park 2 blocks away and watch you walk in, just to make sure you made it." You nod slowly. "I remember. I thought I was protecting you," he says. "I didn't realize you were walking so far, just to find the edge of things." You tilt your head, and now, he leans forward. "Now I'm wondering how many miles I've missed." You let that hang in the air, suspended like a question without a mark. "I didn't do this for revenge," you say, after a moment. "I did it because I stopped asking for permission." He smiles faintly. "Then maybe it's time I stopped expecting you to." Another long pause. "Then would it be all right if I told them?" You shrug. "They'll know soon enough. But you can say it if it makes you feel like you're catching up." He laughs once short and dry. "Fair." Before he leaves, he sets something on the table, a hotel key card. "Room 512, theirs." You look at it. "You want me to stop by?" you ask. "No," he says. "I just wanted to hand it back to the real host." And with that, he walks out, leaving the door open behind him, not just literally. You don't follow. You don't need to. Because now they know. And more importantly, now you know they know. Checkout day comes with that particular hush, the kind that wraps itself around a hotel just before departure when bags line the hallways and conversations turn logistical. Your family has packed early. You hear the roll of suitcases past your suite door, the clipped instructions your mother gives to the bellhop, your uncle's complaints about the early shuttle. Everything is going according to plan, except the part where they pretend nothing's changed. You stay in your suite until 10, not because you have to, just because you can. At 10:15, the front desk rings your room. Mr. Morrison, the clerk, says, voice careful. The Morrison Group has just checked out. They were informed their bill has been adjusted. You smile. And how did they react? A pause, surprised, then quiet. Good. You'd arranged it the night before, every charge, every extra, every spa visit, and ocean kayak rental comped entirely. Not with a flourish, not with a big reveal. Just a line on their receipt paid in full. Courtesy of ownership. You weren't looking for applause. You were returning a favor they never knew they owed. By the time you stroll down to the lobby, they're still there, huddled near the revolving door, waiting on a car service that's predictably late. Your sister sees you first. She gives you a small nod. You return it, that's all. Your mother is the second to notice. She opens her mouth, closes it again. There's too much she wants to say, and none of it will come out right. You walk past them, calm, composed. A guest in your own home, and yet finally not the outsider. Your father steps forward slightly, hand half raised like a wave he doesn't know how to finish. You offer him something better than a wave, a nod that says, "We're not the same, but I saw you try." As the automatic doors open, the bellhop turns to you. "Would you like your car brought around, Mr. Morrison?" You glance back once, just once. Then you say, "No need, I'm staying." And that's when it lands. They're leaving your hotel, your property, your rules. And you're not just staying in the building, you are the building. You head back up the lobby, fading behind you. You make one last stop before your suite, the front desk. Sandra is waiting there, discreet as always. She hands you a small envelope. "We found this left behind in one of the rooms." You open it. It's the glitter place card. Maya's. The one with your name scrawled in child handwriting glue, still rough under your fingers. She left it for you, or maybe she just forgot it, but you keep it anyway. You head upstairs, the elevator doors closing with a hush so soft it feels like a curtain call. You don't feel triumphant. You feel whole, and that's something they never thought you'd be without them. You don't check out. You extend your stay without blinking, without asking. The penthouse suite remains yours, technically, legally, and now symbolically. The staff treats you like what you are, the silent gravity behind every polished surface and folded napkin. They know you now, not as a rumor, but as a presence. And your family, they've become a story that the hotel no longer carries in its air. A guest service memo goes out that afternoon. The Morrison Group has departed, all accounts closed. No additional accommodations scheduled. The slate, as they say, has been wiped. You walk the hallways now with something different in your stride. Not pride, something quieter. Like someone finally walking inside their own outline. There's no dramatic fallout, no final confrontation. Just absence. And in that absence, peace. A week later, you receive a package. It's forwarded from your main office. Handwritten sender, Lena. You hesitate before opening it. For a moment, you consider throwing it out, but curiosity is louder. Inside, a framed photo, not of the family trip, not of her engagement dinner. It's a candid blurry at the edges of you and Maya, sitting in your suite. Her little glitter card held up between you like a prize. There's no note. There doesn't need to be. You place it on the dresser by the window, not out of sentiment, out of acknowledgement. Not everything that breaks needs fixing. Some things just need to be seen. You spend the rest of the afternoon walking the property. You nod at a couple celebrating an anniversary. Smile at a teenager asking for extra pool towels. Help a lost guest find the conference room. You're just here, fully, and maybe that's the quietest kind of revenge. Not the grand gesture, not the headline-worthy twist. Just this, owning the place they thought you'd never be strong enough to walk into, and doing it without needing to be seen at all.